The skills that get your sales team to 100K a month are not the same skills that are going to get your sales team to 8 figures. In fact, if you manage your sales team the same way, you will get stuck, because it's how I got stuck. And the only reason we now manage sales teams to multiple 8 figures is because we figured out a system. And I'm going to share those 3 tactics and maybe a bonus at the end. And here's what actually works when you stop managing and start scaling. The first skill is scorecard-based leadership. Most sales managers run their team on a gut feel. They feel a certain way. So this is how they'll go along. They use their intuition, or what they think is intuition. They track performance by how busy everyone looks, not by how the machine actually needs people to perform, because they don't know what a good machine looks like. It works until your team grows, and then you start losing visibility, because you can only see and do so much when it's not process driven. Early on, I used to think that I'm in the know. I know everything that happens in my team. I'm watching them all the time. And I used to be in Slack, used to be in the CRM, and I used to think that tells the whole story. But scorecards are quantitative metrics, not qualitative. It tells you how to measure your sales team with numbers. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And if you can't manage it, you can't multiply it. So to understand where your sales team is at, you need to see your sales team as an engine. Lead flow, setting, closing. When you have it as an engine, you now have metrics for each part of these engines. Your job as a leader is to know the baseline of your team. And the baseline is taken by your last 3 months of figures. So if you go and just measure what your sales team has done for the last 3 months, you're going to understand this is where my team is at today. You have your baseline metrics of how many dials they've done, how many calls were made, how many set calls were converted, how many showed up. So think about every single metric inside your sales that your business runs on. Your job now is to manage each of these numbers on a weekly system. So you look at all the metrics from top of funnel, ad spend, to bottom of funnel, cash collected. And you're going to look at what broke in the previous week. So every Monday, you're going to look at the previous week and you're going to think, right, last week when our setter was dialing out, they didn't make enough dials. So we generated 1,000 leads, but only 400 calls got made. So when you see what broke that week, you fix it. Your job is to fix one thing every single week as a sales manager. We change everything in the business to be qualitative to quantitative. We've even now moved sales calls to be graded by AI, and we can also qualitatively decide what is a good sales call, not just quantitatively looking at the tone or how the rep did. Numbers remove the emotion. By removing the emotion and using your logic, you're able to actually think clear-minded and not build these internal beliefs that this is why you're not growing or this is why you're not closing. Your job is to turn any number that's in the red into the green the next week, but pick one thing to attack at a time. And that's how you lead, by data. Hey, real quick, if you're a sales rep wanting to become a sales manager, or a sales manager looking to improve your skills with the biggest sales manager training company in the online space, if you're interested in working with us and getting the results that 200 other businesses have, click the link in the description, go through the funnel, watch the video, see what we're about, and I'll catch you on the other side. But measurement is useless if you're doing everyone's job for them, because that's the next skill that comes in, which is impact-based delegation. Most sales leaders burn out, not because they're lazy, but because they're still the fixer. Every problem, every deal, every fire, somebody ends up putting it onto your plate and it becomes your problem, where things don't get fixed without you. I remember when I first started managing my sales team of 20 reps, I would cross my fingers that my calendar doesn't explode, but every problem would come up in one-to-ones, in meetings, and it was for me to fix and me to guide everyone. I wasn't leading a team anymore. I was just running tech support for my own company. I was just trying to fix what I can because every person would just come to me. This is where I came across the skill and will matrix, where I looked at who is low skill and high skill and who's low will and high will. And it's a simple system which will tell you if they're low skill, they need more training, and if it's low will, they need more motivation. Freedom doesn't come from hiring more people. It comes from hiring the people who can think. And the people who think without you allow you to work on the high leverage activities, so you're not stuck doing the same thing again and again. You don't want to hire helpers, you want to hire owners, because those people can be delegated tasks and you know that they'll do it without you. If you delegate based upon impact, you'll create leverage, and leverage is the only thing which allows you to create sales teams. It's the only thing that's allowed me to manage multiple sales teams. But leverage doesn't mean anything if your engine is bleeding cash, which brings us to the next skill, which is cash flow driven sales management. Everyone chases revenue, but revenue means nothing if cash doesn't hit the account. I've seen teams double their sales and still go broke because they never tracked cash velocity. Cash velocity is how much cash is coming in against the ad spend. Once I worked with a company that was doing 600k a month, but their payroll nearly bounced twice. Their Stripe looked healthy, but their bank account didn't. That's when I realized sales managers don't just manage sales, they manage the numbers they wish were true. Revenue feeds your ego. Cash flow feeds your company. Your goal is to collect as much cash as possible, not just be revenue driven. Let's go through the process of collecting as much cash as possible. You spend 100 grand on ads, and let's say your ROAS overall is times 4. So you've got 400 grand of revenue. But let's say you only collect 150 grand. You know that extra 50 grand that you collected? There's actually salaries to pay, software to pay, and if you've got a bigger sales team, your software costs go up. I look at fully loaded cost of acquisition because that includes everything, commissions, softwares. And if you're only collecting 150k and you're breaking even, how are you going to increase your ad spend? You can't, because you get stuck. So the only way to increase it is by increasing the total cash collected. So the way you deliver your pricing, the pitching, is the thing that will allow you to grow. Your cash ROAS is as important as revenue ROAS, because revenue will come later. And if I'm honest with you, most B2C and B2B businesses in the high ticket space, they have revenue metrics, but they have chargebacks, they have cancellations, they have people that don't complete payments. So if you build your business based upon revenue, you'll always end up killing your business because you're hoping that money will land. You can only count the money that you bank today. So incentivize your closers to be cash collected. Cash tells the truth when KPIs lie. And as a leader, your job isn't just to grow the sales, it's to make sure the sales stick. Now you can master all these 3 skills, but without this final one that I left for a bonus for you, you'll scale slower than everybody else. And the bonus skill is building the playbook. Most sales managers try to figure out everything on their own, and that's why everything plateaus. Playbooks and SOPs and systems allow things to grow quicker and in a repeatable way. When I hit my first 8-figure sales team, it wasn't because I was smarter than everybody else. It was because I stopped guessing. Every rep that came in had the same onboarding. I started to look at a system that can scale teams. I worked on a door knocking team when I was really young. The day I started, they had all the playbooks for me. 20 people started, 2 of them lasted. And I was one of the 2 that lasted in that group, because everyone goes to the same training. It wasn't that the 18 reps were poor, it's that their system sieved out all the reps that were no good because they had a great onboarding. And their great onboarding didn't mean that 20 people are going to be successful. It would just weed out all the people that are not going to be the right people for them. And they had frameworks, playbooks, they had given you a booklet when you first started, they had emailed you a bunch of stuff to go over. The manager of the team went to the front of the room and said, who here has completed their playbook? Out of the 20 people, 10 people put their hand up. And the 10 people that didn't, he asked them to leave, because he knew instantly that if they don't complete the pre-work, they're not going to be right for the first day of work. And then there was multiple tasks throughout this day, and eventually there was only 2 people left, because those last few people, that was like 5 on the last task, he said, everyone knock on 200 doors, and when you knocked on those 200 doors, let us know the result. 2 of those people knocked about 50, and they were like, oh, the driveways were long and it was hard to get through. They just were walking slow, they got rid of them. And eventually they would just onboard 20 people every single week, and they would have only 10% of them come through, and they would just end up in a metric, which is, if we onboard this many staff, we know this many people will stay, we know this many people will leave, and this is how we find our killers. And eventually those 2 people that would stay over the longer term, they would have another metric, which is when we onboard 8 people every month, 4 of them end up lasting more than 3 months. And that's how they build a killer team and a killer sales organization, because they have built playbooks and then they could build systems. Here's the truth. Scaling sales teams to 8 figures isn't about hustling harder. It's about managing all of these skills: visibility, leverage, cash discipline, playbooks. When you build a system that shows you what's working, you empower people who think like owners and protect the money that fuels it all. You stop managing sales and start multiplying them. And if you want to learn our playbooks on how you can become an incredible sales manager or manage your sales team even better with all of our playbooks, there's a link in the description. Go through our funnel, book a call, watch all the videos that we have regarding how we do our systems and all of the instructions that we have pre-call. And if we can genuinely help you because you're a sales team that wants to scale aggressively, we'll show you our entire playbooks and how exactly it fits into your business. I'll catch you in the next video.